And welcome everyone to another episode of the podcast. Today, our host will be Chase, Glen. We have our mystery guest for today. Mystery guest?
Hey everybody, what's up? It's Jay.
Jay is a fellow creator who has his own show called The Passenger Seat. Why don't you describe your show for us, Jay?
Alright, sure. It's all in all sort of talk show style YouTube channel where we talk about everything nerd and pop culture, ranging from nostalgic things in pop culture all the way to recent news and events. Like our most recent episode was about Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Sounds awesome. Definitely give him a listen. You guys, I think you'll really enjoy the format and all the different aspects of geekdom that him and his co-host Carlos go through. For today's episode, we're going to do another rumor review from 4chan. We're going to start off at the top, where this rumor states Weirder Stantler event coming to Pokemon Go for Christmas.
I could definitely see something like that happening, like maybe more Stantler or Weirder pop up throughout the world. But in the same breath, I don't see how it could work without them sort of giving them special forms, for example, like making them look more realistic reindeer, if that makes sense.
I can probably see it as well. I guess Weirdier his color palette kind of matches Snow a little bit. And yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they are basically based off of reindeers, right? So I could see it happening.
I mean, yeah, I definitely believe that Weirdeer and Stantler could come up in an event for Pokemon Go just because, it coincides with the Christmas season. I wouldn't be surprised if, Delibirds start to pop up as well. And I like what Chase said about, them coming up with like these different forms. It'd be super funny to see Stantler or Weirdeer with like an obnoxiously red nose or something.
Yeah, I could actually see them with maybe like bells on the horns, or dressed up in some sort of Santa gear.
Weirdier does have the beard.
I like the bells idea. That's actually pretty smart.
Well, you mentioned Delibird, and that brings us to the next part of this rumor. Serena and Delibird coming to Pokemon Unite soon. What do you guys think about this one?
I find it funny to see Delibird if it would come into Pokemon Unite. I mean, I'm not going to say it's never a possibility, of course, but I feel like it would be a fun pick to play. I personally haven't played too much Pokemon Unite, but just watching other people play and just adding Delibird to that mix would probably be pretty funny. I just imagine him like throwing his presents at everybody. And then Serena, yeah, I mean, why not?
Well, honestly, if it's true, I'm not too excited about Serena. I know that they'll do a good job of making her a playable character anyway. However, Delibird seems interesting. I do believe that, like Glenn said, it'd be super fun to see one of its abilities be sort of like Teemo in League.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Just leave a present somewhere and then have it just pop on somebody as they're passing by. I'd also love to see, it may be a little out there, a little extreme, but I'd love to see Delibird with an ability or like a passive where he gains points. It'd be interesting to see him gain points passively through time. Like, let's say you get 10 points passively every minute that the game goes by.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I definitely like where Jay was going with the sort of passive ability, and I agree that Delibird could be a bit like Teemo from League, but I could definitely see Delibird filling like a healer / prankster type role. So you leave presents for your allies, they get healed, and you leave presents for enemies which can act as traps, so like stealing the points from enemies, either like passively over time or just in one fell swoop.
I actually like that. Basically leaving little landmines in the shape of presents, like a really bad jokey Smurf. An update for Diamond and Pearl remakes will be coming to add support for all of the Hisuian forms / evolutions. This update will also add Alola and Galar forms evolutions to generations 1 through 4 Pokemon, along with Dialga and Palkia Eternal Infinite forms for the Legends games.
For sure, I do believe that they are going to patch some things on to Diamond and Pearl. I don't believe it'll be just a standalone and they won't add anything to it over time. I mean, they did this for Sword and Shield where they patched in more Pokemon, or at least give it the ability for you to transfer over the Pokemon from, Sword and Shield. However, the Eternal and Infinite Dialga and Palkia forms, that seems a little bit of a stretch. I just have a hard time seeing how they're gonna make that a thing.
Look, I can definitely see them adding support for all the Hisuian forms and possibly the evolutions for any Pokemon below Gen 4 and below, same for the Alola and Galar forms. Because obviously Gen 5 Pokemon wouldn't really fit into the mix, for example, like Basculin and Basculegion. Dialga and Palkia, I do think they'll get forms, but whether they patched into BDSP, I don't think that'll happen.
I think definitely an update for the Diamond and Pearl remix. I can definitely also see that coming in as well. Whether or not they will support the Hisuian forms and the evolutions, I feel like I can kind of agree with Chase on that matter. Where like maybe they'll do it for the mons that can appear in the national decks for BDSP. But I don't know how I feel about like the other forms that aren't from that gen or below. But I mean, it's still a possibility. And then Alola and Galar forms. I don't know if they would, for them to add those forms as well. I mean, it'd definitely be a lot of fun. It's just that my only small, like, little gripe about it is, didn't they mention something like they're gonna make, like, Sword and Shield still be, like, the main game for, like, source of competitive?
Yeah, they did.
I don't know. It just seems kind of hard to see them actually going with these kind of updates, but I wouldn't put it past them to do it. As far as the Dialga and Palkia stuff, does seem like a stretch to me. It's still kind of hard for me to believe if those are going to actually have forms or not. It would sound cool.
See, for me, this is where the rumor for me falls apart, because I don't see them patching in Alola or Galar or even the Hisuian forms, just because they want to try and keep BDSP as close to the original as possible. If they were going to do that route, we would have seen Gen 5 through 8 as well in this game, but they were very strict with keeping it only Gens 1 through 4. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that you're not going to be seeing this kind of an update as far as the regional variants from other regions. So it looks like they break off into Pokemon Legends. Eternal Dalgia and Infinite Palkia are the big threat in Legends Arceus. They're glowing and smoky with much larger gems than their normal forms. After Arceus undergoes a transformation into its own creation form with similar designs to Eternal Infinite, it seems content to let Dalgia and Palkia's clashing erase humanity. Giratina intervenes and uses up all of its power to seal all the unleashed energy along with its own into the new world, the Distortion World. That's a lot to take in as a whole to start.
Well, firstly, I just have to say, I've got a bit of an itch with them being called Eternal and Infinite, because those basically mean the same thing. But anyway, I digress. Like I said, I can definitely see them getting forms and this whole bit would definitely play into the story a lot. And one detail I see, well, that you mentioned, is Giratina intervening and using its power to seal whatever that is away, all the bad energies and the bad juju. That could explain why in BDSP, and this is a spoiler, and I'm sorry to mention this, but I think it's also been revealed somewhere, so Giratina appears twice in BDSP.
Do I see God going God mode? Yeah, sure. It would be an interesting twist for the game, and going into sort of explanations of how the Distortion World came into being. Basically, it's also saying that Eternal Dialga and Infinite Palkia would do like a level up from their forms, if I'm reading that correctly.
Kind of more like a mega.
Yeah, sort of like the primal versions for Groudon and Kyogre. I believe that to be true. I haven't played these games, but I believe I heard mention of a different form Dialga in one of DS games. Oh, I think it was one of the Rangers or Mystery Dungeons.
Yeah, it was a dungeon.
So I don't see that being an impossibility more than a possibility.
Honestly speaking, I don't think you can go wrong with having alternate forms at all. But like, I would totally be stoked if this kind of thing happened, where it does have like, their Eternal Infinite form, Arceus going into his creation form. Like, that would be dope. Just kind of seeing like how the events would unfold, like why there's a Distortion World, how come Giratina plays like this big part of it, because it makes him sound like a savior, I guess, so to speak. But then like when you play like the original games, or at least Platinum, from what I understand, they see Giratina as a bad guy, Mon. So like it'd be kind of cool to see what actually happened, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, this seems kind of interesting, since they feels like they're leaning more towards the old movie, where you see Dalgia and Palkia clashing, and then of course it irritates Giratina. So I mean, they really thrum back to that feel of the movie, although I don't really foresee Arceus being such a cold Pokemon where it would just let all humanity die, because there's the whole thing about Pokemon World is there's always a balance between humans, nature, and Pokemon. So I always feel it doesn't seem to fit correctly.
I mean, Arceus could just be following something similar to like what happens in the Bible. Like Old Testament God is very wrathful and sort of unforgiving in a way, whereas New Testament God is very loving and will do anything for his peoples.
Yeah, I agree with Chase on that one. It's just being so high of a divine being, you don't really want to intercede in lower beings' doings.
The next line here says, the protagonists are time travelers and the same players from the remake games. They are not from the Hisuian time period. This kind of explains why they have cell phones, but doesn't explain why they still work. But that's an interesting thought.
I don't see it. I don't know. This one just seems a little bit of a stretch for me. I know if you do watch like the Pokemon anime, they have released information about Dialga and Palkia kind of arc thing that's gonna happen I think in December, and it does show some time jumping or some other universe traveling kind of thing. So I don't know. It's a possibility. Maybe it will play into that, or I still don't see it being the case here.
Look, we've already seen a few instances of time travel within the Pokemon universe. I mean, we've got 2 Pokemon who can time travel, that being Palkia and Celebi. And I've got my own theory on this. I believe there will be some time travel, but the person who will be time traveling is Lucha and the International Police, because I believe Lucha was introduced in Gen 4 and he's been in basically every game, if I'm not mistaken. And we don't actually know much about the International Police, so that's who I think will be time traveling. But I think everyone else will be like ancestors of different people from both the Sinnoh and other regions.
Considering the fact that Looker is based off of David Tennant as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see this being a possibility. I mean, if you look at the characters from Legends Arceus and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they're the same main characters. So it's sort of, it begs the question of how did they get there? So I definitely believe that could be a possibility.
And this next block of this rumor is going to be dealing with the future game, Gen 9, quote unquote. I'm going to read a couple of these parts off together because they seem interlinked. But according to this, there's no DLC for either game besides the free update. Late 2022 release will be the new set of games. Plus and minus, spelled like that instead of the words, seem to be a fusion of Egypt and Mexico. Region ties the lore of a few Hisuian forms such as Zoroark and Weavile, and the starters are a rat, goose, and ox.
Well, interestingly enough, in one of the other podcast episodes, you guys talked about a evolution form of Dunsparce being sort of like an Ouroboros kind of thing. And I know you and I talked about it, and I sent you some photos of someone on Instagram who had done the exact same thing, and their whole portfolio is based on like Egyptian style Pokemon, which was very eerily similar to what the rumors had stated. Do I believe it could be in Egypt and Mexico? Sure. The only thing that throws it off for me is the Zoroark being tied into that, because I don't really see where that form of Zoroark sort of fits in with either Egypt or Mexico.
And as for the starters, what do you think?
Rat, goose, and ox. I mean, other than the goose, that seems sort of like the Chinese zodiac. I don't know. I don't know what to feel about that. Again, that's what throws me off from the sort of Egypt-Mexico assumption, because then I default back to sort of a Chinese-inspired setting for the games.
I know exactly what Jay is talking about the Egyptian-inspired region. So I can see how a lot of inspiration has probably been taken from that. I don't think this is very likely to be real, because although Egypt and Mexico are considered very advanced cultures for their times, their cultures are vastly different. I don't see how they could mesh together. And then with the Hisuian forms, I don't see how that could tie into it, because Legends is supposed to be set in the past, unless somehow these Pokemon survived however long without going extinct in this region. But I just can't see it. The starters, if they did an Egyptian region, I could see the goose and the ox being there, because water buffalo or Egyptian geese, definitely something that I could see. The rat, I'm not sure where it fits in. So yeah, it just seems a bit odd.
I mean, I like the concept of like trying to fuse Egypt and Mexico as a region, but I don't see how those two would go 2 and 2 together, like what the other two were saying. Plus and minus for the title is I don't know. That also seems like a stretch for me. I feel like they would at least have, maybe not plus and minus, like they'll probably have like another phrase or something likable. As for the region tides for the Hisuian forms, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree with Jay on there. Like, I don't see how the Hisuian Zoroark would fit in there at all, because the whole point was it became that way because it was in the Hisuian region. How it became like this whole vengeful spirit kind of mon. As for the Weavile, I don't think we ever had any confirmation on that either, so that seems kind of a stretch as well. As for the starters, it seems kind of weird having two animals related to the zodiac, as you know, that make up like more than half of the starters. So not seeing it, although they do seem like interesting concepts: a rat, a goose, and an ox.
Yeah, for me, I can kind of see where they were trying to go with the Egypt-Mexico fusion. There's a theory that says that Egypt was once actually much more lush, and a lot of the erosion that you see on structures like the Sphinx are actually caused by water and not by wind and sand. So if someone's trying to tie that kind of a theory to Mexico with the pyramids of the Aztecs, with the pyramids of Egypt, I can definitely see where they were trying to get that fusion to come from. But for me, it's a real tough pill to swallow on that one. And as far as the Hisuian forms, I have to agree with you guys. They don't seem to fit. I could kind of give a stretch to Zoroark, being the fact that it's a ghost type. It has that jackal type look to it. But Weavile, for me, again, because we don't have any confirmation that there even is a Hisuian form. We don't know what typings it could be if there is. It's a hard sell for me because I can only picture this as an ice dark type, which when I think of Mexico and Egypt, I do not think ice at all. As for the starters, the rat, goose, and ox, yeah, I don't see any connection to Egypt or Mexico personally. I don't really see these being fitting the way the starters normally would.
Egypt was made by aliens anyway. If we don't get a Pokemon region where Deoxys creates massive buildings, that I'm going to be very upset.
Legendaries are Scorpion and Vulture. For me, that's a rather entertaining concept of both land and air. So
The Scorpion would sort of fall within the Egypt and Mexico assumption. The Vulture seems more like an Egypt thing. I mean, why not? I mean, we have so many different types of legendaries and stuff. It wouldn't really surprise me if they did. However, in my mind, how does it tie in the Scorpion and the Vulture to plus and minus, if that's the assumption?
good point.
I really enjoy this as a concept. It's definitely an out-of-the-box combination. A bug and a death chicken. Yeah, I really like it. My brain is going off thinking of how these things could look. I just think it's a really cool idea.
Death chicken is now going to be my new favorite term this week.
Scorpion and Vulture. I think I'd be down for a bug legendary, especially if it's gonna be like on the box art or something. That'd be kind of cool. It's giving me Evital vibes. I mean, it'd still be kind of cool. I like what you said earlier too about like the whole like land versus sky kind of thing. That also seemed like a cool concept as well.
And let's see, we're going to end with this last line here. It says, the new gimmick involves casting spells on your Pokemon.
I think it could be a very unique idea, to say the least. It's very difficult for me at least, to try and think like what kind of spells they could use. But yeah, I definitely think it could be something unique. I don't really have much more to say other than that.
It seems like an interesting concept. When I think of spells though, or casting spells on your Pokemon, it reminds me of like the X items, you know, like the X attack, X defense, X speed. Like it kind of gives me those kind of vibes. So it's like, instead of using an item, let's say during a competitive battle, you're casting a spell which has kind of a similar effect. I mean, they can probably go crazy with the spells themselves, but I feel like when I first read this, like that's what pops up to me. Like it's gonna just be another form of using like X attack or X defense and whatnot.
I mean, I see what you guys are saying about it being sort of like the battle items, but I don't really find the use in it if we already have battle items. I just think it's sort of unnecessary, so I'd sort of discard that rumor, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I've got to admit that. I mean, I was already having issues with this rumor earlier, and this last line just kind of makes it fall apart on me altogether. I really don't see the use of casting a spell when you're literally carrying around a bag full of items. I mean, between your Pokemon in your team and your items that you can bring, and just effects of what we're seeing right now in terms of moves, I don't see the point of this whole casting spells gimmick. But yeah, this one for me is definitely I'm a pass on this one. This is total bunk for me.
In the main series, you can fit a whole ass bicycle in your backpack, and you're having an issue with casting spells.
For me, like, I would think the only thing that would probably make it, so to speak, better than like the items would be if the spell you're casting works as allows you to like also use a move at the same time or something. That would probably be like the only way I accept it as it being a thing. But other than that,
Like I said before, it's just so unnecessary to me. Like Glenn said, if they could make it in a way where you could do it without having to use up your turn, it'd be very good. But at the same time, items would also lose their effectiveness. So,
I mean, jokes aside, if they wanted to tie the games in more with the manga, these spells could work to like sort of fuse the train and the Pokemon in a way similar to how Ash and Greninja do their thing, but instead of being two different entities that feel the same thing, it's two entities that merge into one, if that makes more sense.
We won't mention that other franchise. Well, with that, everyone, this is this week's Rumor Review. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and let us know what you think about this particular rumor. And also, don't forget, go ahead and check out Jay's show, The Passenger Seat, link below. And have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Ciao.
peace out.